Hey guys, welcome to a new series of Chapter 4 Business Studies, Business Services. I think you might wondering what are business services and we studied in first chapter. Yes, you're right, we studied a bit of business services, but name was quite different there. It was auxiliaries to trade. What in the word business services and auxiliaries to trade means? Both are same actually, and we'll discuss about it. This chapter is all about services which business provides. That's called business services, and let's jump into chapter and we'll discuss one by one. Okay, before that, if you're not subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe first. Not only subscribe, hit the bell notification so that every time we post new videos, you'll get to access first. So without further ado, let's jump into this video. First of all, Chapter 4 Business Services. What is business services? Business services is nothing but it's an auxiliaries to trade. Okay. What is auxiliaries to trade? For that, you have to visit for the first chapter video so that you'll get what is auxiliaries to trade. In auxiliaries trade, we have so many different services. The services which helps to run business smoothly, that is called auxiliaries to trade. Auxiliaries to trade is nothing but business services. Okay. In order to run business smoothly or perfectly, we need some services. What are those services? Banking, transportation, insurance, and warehousing. This is what we are discussing. It's all about banking, communication, transportation, insurance, warehousing. So this is the bundle pack of business services. Okay. First of all, the examples of business services are it may be mail, it may be phone or communication or post, or it may be transportation, and it may be insurance, and it may be warehousing, or it may all. So these are the example for the business services. If somebody asks you what are the examples of business services, you have to write these examples. Okay, with that we'll move on to the next one, that is features of services. What are features? Features are something which says about what it is, right? In the features, it says all about the characteristic of that particular services or particular thing. So in here, we are discussing about services features. So the characteristic of services, how you will denote it as services by these features. Okay, the first feature is intangible. What do you mean by intangible? If you are familiar with accounting concept, goodwill, brands, trademark, knowledge, patents, these are all intangible. Why? Because you cannot see those things. You cannot feel. Yes, there is a brand, it's a name, nothing else. There is no person. Or if you study the book, you'll gain that knowledge. You cannot grab it unless you read it. Okay, you cannot transfer it by simply giving. You cannot sell it by simply, because that has to be done through procedure. Like what you're doing now, you're just gaining knowledge through videos. And patents, trademarks, these are all exist, but you cannot see it. Just like that, the first feature is intangible. Intangible is nothing but you cannot touch it, you cannot see it, or you cannot taste it. You can only felt it. Suppose if you're traveling in a bus, you can only feel that you're traveling, but there is no physical exchange of goods, right? This is called intangible. The first feature is this intangibility. You can avail that benefit, but you cannot hold it or you cannot store it. We'll discuss that again in the coming features. So the first feature is intangible, and moving on to the second feature. Second feature is inconsistency. Here different customer demand for different style or varieties of services. You may ask for long hair and somebody else may ask for the short hair. So it depends. Different customer have different taste and expectation, so they offer or they accept different services, just like in mobile services and beauty parlor with different demands and expectation. So that's why business services are inconsistency, that means irregular. And third one, inseparability. Inseparability means you cannot separate the services. Like suppose here they give an example of clerk may be replaced with an ATM, but the presence of customer cannot be replaced. That means presence of the customer has to be there and you cannot separate it. Or in exactly theoretical word, the production and the consumption has to be done simultaneously. You cannot hold it or you cannot store it. So you cannot separate it from the consumption and the production. So it has to be done at once. Moving on to the next one, inventoryless. Inventoryless is nothing but in one word, you cannot store it. That's it. You cannot store for the future use. So you have to perform the services exactly on the presence of the customer. You cannot postpone it or you cannot save it to future dates. That's it. Moving on to the next one, that is involvement. Without customer involvement, you cannot give services. Here, receiver is more important than services, because when participant or receiver is there, you have to deliver the services. So the involvement is must, and there should be involvement. Moving on to the next one, that is difference between services and goods. What kind of differences are there between goods and services? So first of all, in the first column we have basis, on what basis we have differentiating, and second column we have services, and third column we have goods. So the nature, the basis of nature, services is an activity or a process. It's an activity. Some activity, it may be hair cutting, or it may be services like massage, or it may be services like mobile service. It depends on every person. So it's an activity or a process. Here they give an example of watching movie in a hall. That's a services. Next, here we have a goods. Goods is nothing but physical goods or physical object. So like here they give an example of video cassette. It may be like biscuit pack or chocolate. Those are all goods. It's a physical product. You can carry it, or you can resell it, or you can send to someone else, or you can store it. You can't do anything with the goods. Next thing is type. What type? It's an heterogeneous, homogeneous. First of all, what is heterogeneous and homogeneous? I think you all familiar with homogeneous. Homogeneous is same. In the other word, homogeneous is same thing. There's no difference. In services, heterogeneous. Heterogeneous means different type is called hetero. So heterogeneous is, it has a different varieties in task or activity. In product, it is almost similar, because if I buy biscuit pack in Bangalore, it will be same in Tumkur or in Mangalore. So there is no differentiation. But if I take a services in a salon, it may depend on your area, it may depend on cost, it may depend on services which they are providing, and taste and preference of your taste. So it completely depend on you. Next, we have intangibility. Like I said, intangible is nothing but you cannot touch it. So here, doctorate treatment can be only felt, but you cannot touch it, right? You cannot touch doctor treatment. But here in the goods, you can hold goods. If you purchase a tablet or medicine, you can hold it physically. So that's a goods. Next, we have inconsistency. Inconsistency is nothing but different for everyone. It's not same for everybody, so it's different for customer to customer. But in the goods section, at least some standardization is there. Standardization means, like in mobile category, we have 6 GB RAM and 8 GB RAM, and 128 GB and 256 GB. Like that, there is a standard. Certain standard people will buy certain goods. Like if some people want 6 GB RAM, they will buy 6 GB RAM. But in services, some may demand some kind of services, some may not demand other services. Some people add on some services, some people remove the services. But in the goods, you cannot remove product. If you don't like Bluetooth, you cannot remove it, right? Which is already exist, or you cannot add it further. Suppose Apple phone doesn't have Bluetooth, you cannot add Bluetooth feature to Apple. But in services, you can add, you can delete. So that's inconsistency which having in services. In the simple word, you can alter it as per your taste. Next is inseparability. You cannot separate, like I discussed. It has to be done simultaneously. The time of production of services and consumption has to be same. Like eating an ice cream, you cannot separate it or you cannot store it. You can purchase an ice cream and eat at your home, but at the same time, if you're consuming ice cream in a restaurant, the feeling you get or the facility you get, you cannot store it or you cannot carry to your home. So that is inseparability. It has to be produced and consumed at the same time. There is no restriction in goods. Next is inventory. You cannot inventory the services. That means you cannot store or you cannot kept services. But in the goods, you can keep it. Next is involvement. If customer is not there, there is no services. So involvement of customer is very essential here. In the goods, involvement of consumer may not necessary while the production. So the involvement may not necessary every time. Moving on to next thing, that is types of services. There are 3 types of services. First one is business services. Business services is nothing but the services which provide smoothness to business operations or activities. Those are called business services, like banking, insurance, transportation, warehousing, and communication. This is the main thing we discussed in this topic. So moving on to next one, social services. Social services is voluntary involvement in social activities. That's called social services. And personal services can be experienced with the consumer. Like tourism is a best example for this personal services. Everybody has their own dream place, so they may like to visit one place and they may not like to visit other place. So here personal services is depend on personal experience or expectation. So this is the personal service. So these are the three types of services. Okay guys, that's it for today's video. If you like this video, hit like and share with your friends like always. See you in the next video. Bye for the day.